This movement demo video, we're going to be going over the hip extension biased lunge. We're going to be performing an isometric here, focusing on getting our knee behind the hip joint and really feeling a bit of a stretch and a pull down through the front of here without compensating or biasing into the low back. So we're going to get a pad for the knee. We're going to get down into a position where we have the knee directly under the hip joint. This is going to be our starting point, okay? If you feel like you are very bound up and you are very restricted, it is okay to start to shift that knee in front of the hip joint and try and get yourself back to neutral. Some of you will have to be there, but we're going to have to do a little bit of experimenting and playing around to see where that is. So I'm going to start with my knee underneath my hip joint. My front leg out here is just going to be a 90-90 position, degrees here at the hip and the knee. I'm going to take a big breath in, exhale, blow all that air out, every last little bit of air from the lungs, which is going to compress, pulling my rib cage down on top of my hip joint. My pelvis is actually going into that little bit of a posterior tilt here. That's not a butt squeeze, it's more of a lift here from just below your belly button, pulling that pubic bone up towards your ribs. So you should already start feeling a little bit of a pull here. I need to take my knee a little bit farther back to start feeling the pull because I've been doing this a long time. But this is where you can start to play around with, okay, I am feeling way too much here. I don't have this play in my pelvis. So I'm gonna have to take my knee a little bit forward in front of my hip in order to establish a little bit of play. That's kind of our guideline here. If you can have some play in the hip joint, being able to go into this anterior and posterior pelvic tilt, this is where we're gonna start to work. From here, once I blow all that air out, pull the rib cage down, I am now going to come onto my back toes. I'm going to maintain this position. I'm going to lift my knee up off the pad, and we're going to hold there without raising my hips. Here. And I'm going to try and drive now that heel back behind me, trying to straighten the knee as best I can without the hips popping up. So staying super, super low. Now, if balance is an issue, it's okay to grab something like PVC pipes, broomstick, hold on to that for some balance, even maybe a countertop or the rig over here to hold on to. This really isn't about the balance game. It's really more so about getting some load and some stress and some pulling through the front of the hip to really work on this compressed state, allowing for completely biased hip extension. So with a holding on to something, it'll look like this. Rib cage down. I got my toes up. I'm stacked over my knee. I'm gonna take my heel and try and drive it back behind me. Hold, 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 hold. And we are going for anywhere from 10 to 30 seconds here, depending on the prescription. And we're gonna get that on each side for multiple sets.